Chelsea. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. It's so great to connect face to face, even though it's virtually. I know we've sent a few DMs over the last couple of weeks, but
Yeah.
how have things been now that you've had a few days, I feel like, to really process the last episode of the show?
I mean, mostly relieved. Relieved that we managed to give them enough material to spin us off in a good light. And I think that us not being stressed out in that last leg gave us an opportunity to just be like excited we're going to see our families, enjoy the scenery, jump in the Adriatic
Adriatic
Sea.
Sea, yes.
Look at those, have the Game of Thrones caves competition. It was just very majestic and that was a rough last leg too. And I am there was some grace in editing as far as how dire things were at certain moments.
Sure.
So
Well, hey, I mean, like, I feel like the word of the leg for the two of you was like enjoy. I feel like you
yeah.
mentioned the word of just like enjoy it. Let's enjoy the day. Let's enjoy the leg. So I feel like that really came through in the edit in terms of your send off. But I kind of want to go back to the beginning of your Amazing Race journey. I know we kind of connected a little bit when the cast was announced. But what really inspired you and Robbin to apply for the Amazing Race? And was it just kind of a one and done thing, or had you applied previously before?
We just applied the one time. I had gone to her house. Our kids were having a play date, and Robin is like an absolute CrossFit nut. Like she's really all of a sudden, from where she came to being such a physical competitor was very inspiring to even me at the gym. And then I have really had a transformation in my fitness as well. So we were just sitting there kind of buttering each other up one day. And then our conversation turned to Amazing Race. And then it just kind of like we just looked at each other and had this like, wait a second, this is perfect. And it took a few trips to her house. She was lived an hour away, but I figured out how to edit a video for us. And then I'd given up, and we got the call the day after I gave up, the 2 months later that we were being considered.
Oh my gosh. I remember the initial phone call and what a rush that is to be like, oh my,
Yeah.
we actually have a chance to be on the Amazing Race. When does it start to feel real for you and Robin? Like we are one of the 13 teams on season 35 of the Amazing Race.
Never. It still doesn't feel real. Like it still feels like a huge fever dream of like, did that just happen? Did we really sort out all of our life to be able to be? No, so it still feels very surreal.
I get it. We filmed 5 years ago, and sometimes I still pinch myself like,
Yeah,
did it really happen? Because it's over in a blink.
exactly.
Going to Vietnam, I want to talk about the leg where you crushed that roadblock looking for a tile and you got first place. Talk about that moment because, not a lot of teams on the Amazing Race can say they placed first on a leg. So, talk me through those emotions for you and Robin.
We were so far behind in the beginning. Somehow we had managed to make our way on a bus at the same time as the other teams. Like we were even further behind than it showed in the editing. To see that we like, okay, we're 30 minutes behind the team in front of us. Like that's something we can work with. And then we powered through those competitions and getting to the rice challenge and watching John flop one of his rice papers, I was like, there's a chance. You know what I mean? Like he's not perfect. And so then Robin really pulled through on the rice. And then after that, we were headed to the tiles, I think. No, that was then we had a break and then we kept go the
It was
so
a
we
long
just
day in
kept
Vietnam.
tipping away, we muscled through the fish challenge or whatever. And then by the time we got to the tile and I see Corey, who's just, they just have fire in their eyes. All the teams left have fire in their eyes. There's not, they are college athletes, they are professional athletes, they are the smartest and the most competitive of people that there are out there. And to see that Corey was still looking for his tile, it's like anybody can find a tile, you know what I mean? So I had this moment of like, okay, I've got a shot. It's meant to throw you off. So I got one tile wrong, but the second I saw what was wrong, I knew exactly what I was looking for.
Sure.
And that's when I found it pretty
Well, I
quickly.
loved the little backstory that we saw in the episode of just you practicing stuff like that with your daughter. What was that moment like watching that together?
Oh, she loved it. We're Facebook friends, and I actually put it on my Facebook. It's
It's
very
so cute.
cute.
It's so
Yeah.
cute.
She was like, wait, what? Like, you never know how things are going to manifest in your life. And that was
Right.
a really cool moment for her to get to watch that back on TV for sure.
I love that. Now, fast forward to India. It is the blind U-turn vote. Did you and Robin have any idea that it was that close by one vote where you guys could have potentially been U-turned?
We had it sorted out enough to know that there was going to be at least 4 votes to Steve and Annalie. I watch enough Survivor to know when the vibe is off. Like
Sure,
I
sure.
really like brought some of my skills from that to like feel things out, get a sense of where people were walking to the U-turn. Yermi and Liam didn't look at us, like little things like that, right? And I could just tell after the tile thing that Annalie was not like I wasn't her favorite person in the world after that. And we had kind of talked prior to that about U-turning whoever had come in first. So it was kind of we were up.
Right.
So yeah, I definitely had a feeling that there was a chance it was us. Corey and Rob were my wild card.
Okay. And then in Slovenia, you obviously left the pit start fifth. You were ahead of Steve and Anna Lee, but then you get to that roadblock in Congress Square. How difficult was that? And what do you think was the hardest part in terms of attaching all of those utensils to your carrier?
Well, I guess it was really difficult for me. I don't know, I was kind of blown away by how quickly the other teams did it. The only chance I had for a moment was, and even the fact that Annalie came after me and left after me, I'm like, am I really that? Then it's like, well, I have to go too. You know what I mean? Like that's when I should have slowed down and really made sure I had everything proper. I got in my head a little bit watching Annalie pull ahead of me. And then she dropped her stuff. I was like, okay, I got a little inch here. And then I dropped my stuff. So yeah, I just couldn't cut it with the other teams on that one.
I was hoping everyone would have been judged a little bit more harshly because everyone's stuff was falling off their carrier. And I'm like, isn't that the whole point of this
Yeah.
roadblock? But then you guys have to drive to Piv Kajama. And how far do you think it really put y'all behind from missing that turn initially?
It was so long. It was
Mm.
so long. Like I said, you never want it to turn dark on the Amazing Race, but like we ended up back on the freeway. Like it was just a chorus of poor choices.
Okay, so you that kind of put you out a little bit. But you know what? From that point forward, like when you guys get to the detour, this is a moment I really appreciate and I wish people would take more advantage of. I know there's this one side of the argument of like, it's never over until it's over. Like keep racing, anything can happen. But you guys clearly knew like you guys were in last and you decided, let's just take this moment, talk about that. Like what really kind of pushed you to let's just soak this in.
I had wanted to swim it the whole time I was on Amazing Race. Like I've been working out you know what I mean? Like I wanted to swim. We had jumped in the ocean together before this to prepare for a polar plunge or something. So I just wasn't going to come all that way to that beautiful space and place and time and not take a little bite out of it.
So when you guys get to the pit stop, obviously the sun is setting. You guys find out your last place. Was it relief? Were you just kind of at peace with your amazing race journey? You guys both just seemed very positive about your whole experience in that moment.
Yeah, it was all of that. It was a relief. We were at peace. There's something I did pretty good not being with my kids at first, but something visceral happens right
Mm.
around 3 weeks of like you just want to hug your kids, you
Yeah.
know? And I missed my daughter's 5th birthday, and it was my birthday like the next day, and I just was relieved and excited to be able to spend my birthday with my family.
I mean, I loved what both of you had to say at the pit stop. I think it really just shown just how strong and badass women the two of you are. I loved watching the two of you. I always root for Team Purple, but you guys really did race a very independent race, and I just commend the two of you for that.
But we weren't with teams a lot of the time, that we didn't have too many opportunities. So, but
But even
people
then,
will
you
take
still
whatever they
powered
want.
through. Yeah, you still
Yeah,
powered
yeah, we still
through.
managed. We scrapped along.
What is your biggest takeaway from your Amazing Race journey?
My biggest takeaway is all the messages that Robin gets of people who are inspired by her, who are moved by her, who can relate to her, who are going through something terrible, and how she's touched them in her journey. And I love what she said at the end there about life's always going to be tough. Something bad's always going to happen, and it's kind of how you face that thing is
Yeah.
really what dictates your future. That's my
And
biggest takeaway.
in terms of just watching it back with your daughter, like what was that like for y'all?
Watching it with my daughter and watching it with my mom is like they're like low key underwhelmed. Like they just really think that I'm really wonderful and fabulous, and I wanted them to be like a little bit more excited. But of course, my daughter really loves John and Greg, and like of course all of those things. So it's been super fun, and I think maybe in a few years, but my mom doesn't need a reality show to prove to her how amazing I am and how much she loves me. And I
Amen.
know I can say for Robin's family is having such a blast watching, and her kids all cried at the last episode. And
Oh,
yeah,
well, you two are great. I really look forward to meeting you in a couple of weeks to celebrate
yeah,
the
I'll be there.
season and just an amazing job this season. I really I appreciate you and Robin, and I really enjoyed watching the two of you.
Thanks for having me, James.
Of course.